Yeah, hey, this is Lucas Barfield, and this is the CV19 report. This is a show right here on Radio Tacoma 101.9 where we are going to be covering what's going on with the coronavirus in our local community, the nation, and in the world. The first story I wanted to cover is a story out of our local community, and this is out of Mount Vernon, Washington. And many of you might have seen this story, but I wanted to cover it to make sure that the word is getting out about this, and it kind of demonstrates the behavior of this virus and how contagious it is. They had a choir practice in Mount Vernon back towards the beginning of March, and 60 people showed up for the choir, and ended up 45 of them came down with the coronavirus, and unfortunately, two of those people have passed away. And so that shows that the virus most likely, they don't know for sure, people could have touched the same surfaces and things like that, can travel through the air, and it is very contagious. And so this is why they're sort of upping their guidelines. There's nothing official came out yet. So on that note, the governor is beginning to tighten up the restrictions a little bit more here in Washington State. He came out and he said he was going to have a three-tier system using law enforcement as far as social distancing going and businesses shutting down. So tier one will be just an educational step where the authorities will talk to you and say, hey, you're violating the stay-at-home order or you need to shut down your business. Tier two will be something like a ticket. If you're out and about and you don't have a reason to be going somewhere or something like that, and they find you, they could write you a ticket. And then tier three could be something even worse, like a civil fine or even a criminal fine. And they even were talking about if you're a business and you won't shut down, you could have your business license taken. So they are beginning to tighten down these stay-home restrictions, and a sign of that is that the National Guard has been activated, and they are saying that they are sending those guys out to work at the food banks to help distribute food. So as of right now, the National Guard is just out here to help distribute food at food banks, which makes a lot of sense. People at food banks aren't necessarily qualified to shuffle people around and do social distancing like that. There was a survey. I got an email about this. There was a survey came out, and Tacoma mayor, and they reported that the Tacoma was not prepared for its equipment and masks and all the things it might need. That is a sentiment that is coming down all around the country from mayors. Snohomish County has joined Seattle and opened up a quarantine facility, the Angel of Winds Casino there. They have opened up a facility, so if you are tested positive with CV19 and you need to be quarantined, that is somewhere you can go. Something else out of Snohomish County is their community transport drivers. They had a lot of those drivers have been, I think, 9, last I heard, have been tested positive, and sadly, one driver did pass away recently. So that is something that you should be paying attention to. If you are out there riding the shuttle, that is sort of in that same network. So please be careful out there with public transportation. If you have a student out there with your that is in a K through 12, by Monday they should have had a online learning plan for you or some type of way for you to pick up a packet or something for your student. The school districts have not all been outfitted to do online learning, and a lot of students don't have computers. And due to equity concerns, some of the districts have been taking a little while to get this rolled out. But the OSPI down in Olympia said you have to have something by this week, and a lot of districts have rolled those out. If you don't have anything from your school right now as far as your kid schoolwork, you might want to contact the Tacoma School District or wherever your kid goes to school, and they will help you out. The governor has done 2 revisions to the essential business guidelines, and those 2 are real estate. He has also made funerals an essential business so that people can attend funerals for their loved ones, of course, with social distancing. Something I wanted to mention real quick is our sister station, KTQA 95.3. They have a daily CV19 update, and you can find that at daily.ktqa.org. And that is an update that will give you all the numbers, and it is done live at 3 o'clock and then played throughout the day on the 3, 6, and 9s. And so, if that is something you want to check out as far as getting all the numbers out of a local station done by Sam and Becky over there at KTQA. So thank you so much to them for getting that information out. So we're going to move on to the nation right now and some big news on this front here. And we're going to go through these real quick. The first one is that tax day was moved to July 15th. They ended up passing an economic stimulus, and now this will be the 3rd economic stimulus package related to CV19. And I'm hearing that they're actually working on a 4th one. And so keep an eye out for that. If you want to know more information about the stimulus package, you can go to irs.gov. So in about the next 3 weeks, they'll start distributing these checks. If you have a direct deposit with the IRS that you get your tax return, it'll come like that, or they will mail checks out. If you don't, now this is really important if you're out there listening, and you might need to help people around you do this, and this is why I'm putting this out there, because we're going to need to help people. If you are somebody who does not do a tax return, or know someone who doesn't do a tax return, like people with disability, the elderly, a veteran, even homeless, that don't do tax returns, it looks like anybody out there is eligible for this. You just have to get over to irs.gov/coronavirus and fill out like a basic little tax return form, and it also has a place there for a direct deposit, and you can get these checks, but you have to get over and fill it out if you don't already receive a tax return. So if you didn't pay taxes in 2018 and 2019, this is something you're going to need to do. And please, let's look around our community and find people who could benefit from the stimulus that might not be able to get themselves to a computer or a phone to fill this out, and help them, because everybody needs to get a piece of this stimulus. So here's how it's going to work. So they have some cutoffs. So the first one is $75,000 for individuals and $150,000 for couples. For every $100 you go over that, the amount you get is going to be reduced by 5. We'll talk about that amount here in a second. So if you are a single filer with an income above $99,000 and a joint filer with a income above $198,000, you are not eligible for these stimulus checks. So joint filers will get a $2,400 check, and single filers who meet the criteria will get a $1,200 check. Eligible kids will get a $500 check each. So you can get that again over at irs.gov/coronavirus. That will get you in a place to put in direct deposit information and to file a brief tax return, a makeshift tax return, I guess I call it, so that you can get this stimulus. The federal stay-at-home has been extended to April 30th. It sounds like the president has backed off of his "Let's get open by Easter" proclamation, and has extended the stay-at-home to April 30th, and it's even kind of sounding like it's going to even maybe go on longer on the national level. Some really sad news out of New Orleans. A 17-year-old has passed away from coronavirus, so let's continue to spread the word that this is not just affecting the elderly. In Miami, they had their first death, and it looks like this might be related to the Winter Party or the Winter Fest, they call it. Miami has a giant electronic music festival every year, and it looks like the death might have been related to that. And this is another person who was younger, 40-year-old, and there's also been a 79-year-old man passed away from coronavirus in Miami. So I guess they've had two deaths, sadly. So there are 42 states, and that is going to increase soon, that are in some type of lockdown order. There are some holdouts out there, including Iowa, whose governor still has not locked them down. Authorities are cracking down nationwide. A New Mexico man was charged with an assault for spreading coronavirus. And in Florida, a preacher of a megachurch was arrested for telling his flock to continue to come to church, and so the authorities arrested him for trying to get people to gather together. So we're going to move on to the world, and I'm trying to get somebody on here to talk about. We're getting this lined up to talk about Taiwan, as I mentioned. Taiwan has had very few deaths, too, the last I checked. However, their numbers are increasing. And this is a little bit worrisome, as they have been very diligent and cracked down a lot on people's movement and people coming into the country. But the virus is still getting out. But nothing like other countries. So we're going to get some more information on that coming up. They are using malaria drugs to treat this. Over in France, they're having some success with the malaria drugs. They are also using Ebola drugs to treat coronavirus, and there has been some anecdotal reports that has worked. Now, that leads me to something I want to finish up the show on, and I want to talk about research and science and what information you should be sharing and paying attention to. So at this point, it is really important to be paying attention to doctors and scientists. It's okay for you to research things and not quite be sure about something and look into it and read about it and think about things and try to understand them yourself. But when you go start telling people, one person, two person, three people, information that's not correct, that can be a problem, because we need the correct information to be able to protect ourselves. And until next week, thanks for tuning in. This is Radio Tacoma 101.9 LP FM. I hope everybody's having a great day and be healthy out there. Bye-bye.
This is a poem by Blake Moore, which is a heartfelt view of the coronavirus. Blake is an artist in Northern California, and you can learn more about her as well as view a video on her website at www.bemoreyou.net. That's BMOREYOU.net.
Convene, supervene. I awoke this morning thinking about all the people I love and how I want to call each one of you and say, it's okay. We'll be okay. We are okay. We are light. We are love. We are collective consciousness pushing itself from a deep dream of frenzied sleep. Amid COVID-19 messages from corporations with generic responses, news briefs about bipartisan senators selling stock as they reassure the public that we will all be just fine come October, posts of top CEOs jumping out of the game in the nick of time, their golden parachutes pirouetting in the wind of this worldwide panic pandemic as if they are immune. Maybe they are, in their bunkers in South Dakota or Panama or whatever Middle Earth conspiracy story appeals to your creative imagination. counting their 1% while the rest of us duke it out over toilet paper and frozen pizza, holy water replaced by hand sanitizer. Lives constructed carefully or carelessly on the brink of virtual collapse. Safety nets revealing their rabbit holes, bystanders wondering who among us will slip through as we plummet into an unknown embraced by those who've been training to meet this moment for decades. This is no time to fear, because this is as real as the air we share, the surfaces we touch, the hugs we are missing, as real as dolphins returning and balconies breaking out in cohesive song, as real as this blue earth making up 0.0003% of the total mass of a solar system, sharing the Milky Way with 40 billion potentially habitable planets like our own. As real as these bodies unfurling like springtime ferns in the dawn of their awakening. Social distancing, without euphemism, is social isolation, i.e. meditation. Nothing else to do but make love inside ourselves, with lungs and isotopes, with inhale, exhale, feeding the antibodies with able-bodied thoughts. Tell them, we got this, and we will. Tell them, we got this, and we do.